all dealing with the inevitable, just mortality. And so to see how Stu handled that with grace and dignity, and how it's encouraging people to embrace those things and to be supportive and loving and never giving up on people.
Have you always talked about it?
It's a balance. I don't want to jam it down anybody's throat, but I do not deny my faith. That's an even bigger sin. You know, it's not popular in my industry, but, you know, I cannot deny my faith.
Partners with Diddy. Have you spoken to him since the incident went down?
I have not. I just know what a devout Christian and father he is, and obviously if he would do anything to protect his children.
At 54, the unshakable Mark Wahlberg, Hollywood's tough guy with a golden touch, is facing a reality no blockbuster could prepare him for.
After he hurled rocks and racial slurs at black school children,
he made numerous racist remarks during the attack and following his arrest.
Behind the muscles, fame, and faith-driven persona lies a devastating truth the public was never meant to see.
It occurred 2 years after she secured a civil injunction against Wahlberg after he hurled rocks and racial slurs at black school children. The injunction essentially warning Wahlberg that he would go to jail if he committed another hate crime.
So, what really happened to Mark Wahlberg? And why are fans saying this might be his darkest chapter yet? Let's find out. Mark Wahlberg has really moved on from his rapper days. In fact, he's so not into it that he's actually telling fans to chill by watching his old music videos. It's not like Wahlberg is trying to hide his past, but he's just not feeling too proud of it. In a 2016 interview with Men's Fitness, he straight up said, "I look back at it now and I'm like, what the hell was I doing?" Talk about a major throwback cringe.
It's all the mistakes, it's all the failures, it's all the losses that make you understand and grow and, you know, just hopefully get it right the next time around.
Before earning his stripes as an Academy Award nominee, Mark Wahlberg was rocking a whole different persona. In those days, he went by Marky Mark, and together with the Funky Bunch, he was making waves as a chart-topping rapper. Believe it or not, Mark Wahlberg was not just a Hollywood star, but a legit rapper who had a massive hit. To get the full picture of how Marky Mark wound up making it big in music, we need to head back to when the rapper was an early member of one of the biggest boy bands to ever grace the stage. This was back in the 80s, the decade preceding the one that sent Wahlberg into the stratosphere.
I'm Irish American and never would I pretend to be an African. You needing a history lesson because you forgot where you came from.
In the early stages of New Kids on the Block, Mark Wahlberg was a member of the group alongside his brother Donnie. This was an interesting lineup, but it was not the one that would go on to sell millions of records. Eventually, Mark would depart the group, and once the classic lineup was put together, the group eventually broke out. In the 80s and early 90s, New Kids on the Block dominated the music scene, unleashing a series of chart-topping hits that propelled them to superstardom. Their influence extended beyond music, with the band having their own toys, a dedicated hotline, and even an animated series, solidifying their ubiquitous presence. Meanwhile, amidst the band's meteoric rise, Mark Wahlberg was diligently honing his rap skills, biding his time for an opportunity to shine. The turning point came when a familiar face played a crucial role in catapulting Marky Mark to household fame. Once in the spotlight, there was no turning back for the burgeoning star.
I'm back, and Boogie Nights too. Burt Reynolds keeps grabbing me and ripping the makeup. I'm like,
I did.
We're doing that scene where I'm telling him it's my big.
With his brother's success and New Kids on the Block paving the way, new opportunities unfolded for Marky Mark. In the burgeoning rap scene, still in its early stages, there was ample room for someone with the right vibe to make a significant impact. Marky Mark seized this chance when he released Good Vibrations, a track that catapulted him to immense fame. Interestingly, Good Vibrations has become a universally recognized song today. However, for younger listeners, the realization that it's a Mark Wahlberg song may not be immediate, given the passage of time since its release. Yet for those who experienced its peak popularity, the song remains unforgettable.
Watching that strut and listening to Good Vibrations, that was almost 30 years ago when that song came out?
Well, thank you.
27 years ago.
Yeah, it's time flies.
Although many associate Mark's rap career primarily with Good Vibrations, it's worth noting that he had more than one hit according to Billboard. Apart from the iconic track, Marky Mark's song Wild Side also secured a spot in the top 10 on the Hot 100, adding another success to his rap portfolio. Despite the initial chart success, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch's reign at the top was short-lived. Following a pattern reminiscent of artists like Vanilla Ice, it became evident that the group wouldn't reclaim their former glory once the initial fervor subsided. In their brief but impactful run, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch produced 2 albums, both achieving gold world status, according to Billboard. While Mark Wahlberg's rap days are firmly in the past, these achievements underscore his notable success in the broader context of his career.
It was like divine intervention, right? I grew up loving the cinema, going to the movies with my dad, but nobody had ever left Austin and where we came from in the neighborhood and went on to become an actor or in the movie.
Speculation has often swirled about the possibility of a reunion, with fans eagerly anticipating the gang's return, even for a single show. However, despite occasional rumors, there seems to be no reunion on the horizon. In 2013, talks surfaced about a potential comeback, but this never materialized. Wahlberg, it seems, has chosen to leave his Marky Mark persona firmly in the past. This decision aligns with his efforts to distance himself from the bad boy image that initially propelled him to fame in the 90s.
I started out in music. I started out breakdancing and stuff in school and kind of getting it. I loved hip hop, and my brother and I started working with Maurice Starr, and then all of a sudden they wanted to make it kind of a version of New Edition.
One of his fans wrote, "I really admire his loyalty to the guys that have had his back since he was a kid." Another one added, "Mark is very articulate, but he was always funny. I really never dug his work, to be honest. But the thing is, now that I'm older, I'm learning to appreciate a lot of things that life's funny that way as the years go by. I see a lot of that from him. He knows he's very lucky to be so blessed."
The youth is wasted on the young. You always want to go back and do something different, or you want to just shake him and tell him, no, don't do this.
Mark Wahlberg ventured into the rap scene during the early 1990s as a member of Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Following the group's dissolution, Wahlberg pursued a solo rap career, culminating in the release of the album Music for the People in 1997, which unfortunately flopped commercially. Reflecting on that period, Wahlberg has expressed regret, acknowledging his youthful naivety. In a 2010 interview with GQ, he admitted, "I was young and dumb and thought I knew everything." Today, Wahlberg has successfully transitioned into a multifaceted career as an actor, producer, and businessman, with the roles of husband and father adding to his accomplishments. His rap endeavors are firmly relegated to the past. While some speculate that Wahlberg might wish to erase the Funky Bunch era from memory, there's no indication that mentioning it would lead to any adverse consequences in his current career. Unlike Cuba Gooding Jr., who faced credibility issues due to accusations, there is no evidence that Wahlberg has labeled anyone a liar or made threats related to his past in the music industry. Notably, Queen Latifah, having initially been recognized as a rap artist, doesn't seem to derive any benefits from her connection to Jamie Foxx. Although some may use the term Marky Mark in a somewhat disparaging manner, it hasn't impacted Wahlberg's standing in the film industry. In essence, Wahlberg's earlier financial success and encounters with a more indulgent lifestyle during his rap career have become a chapter firmly closed.
So for me, that's like, I have to do them justice. You know, I have a job and a responsibility to get it right and handle it with the sensitivity that it deserves. So when making those...
Mark Wahlberg made the decision to step away from his rap career due to a lack of confidence in his abilities. Recognizing that he wasn't satisfied with his proficiency in rapping, he chose to redirect his focus towards acting. Despite achieving multiple top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, Wahlberg ultimately decided to leave the rap scene, emphasizing his commitment to pursuing a career in acting. Despite his initial charting successes, Wahlberg chose a different path, leaving his rap career behind. Wahlberg reflects on the alternate trajectory his career might have taken if he had stuck to his initial plan of becoming a full-time rapper. Despite achieving popularity as the singer of Good Vibrations and being a prominent figure in the 90s rap scene, Wahlberg eventually transitioned into a highly successful acting career. Despite his accomplishments in acting, Wahlberg contemplates the different choices he could have made during his younger years, pondering how his career path might have diverged if he had continued down the route of a full-time rapper.
Or seeing Bill Long's reaction to Father Stu, those are the things. That's you know, my reward for the work that we do.
While the departed star was making a move to Hollywood, Eminem had made his debut, and by the time he retired, the 8 Mile star cemented his name on the list of the best rappers. An interview with IGN recently resurfaced on the internet where Wahlberg was asked if he thinks he could have been Eminem if he had not retired, to which he replied, "Could I have been Eminem? I certainly hope not. I like Eminem. I think Eminem's really talented, but I'm trying to go a completely different route." He further quoted, saying that he and Eminem have completely different tastes. "I love my mother, man. Are you crazy?" No, I can't be a bad influence on anybody, but I think there's a lot more to what he does than that. There's certainly a shock value that's kind of gotten him to a certain place, but the guy's got a lot of talent. It's just, I came from the real thing and I was trying desperately to get away from that. While Mark Wahlberg's music career didn't unfold as he had initially envisioned, he holds no regrets about using music as a means of self-expression. However, when comparisons arose between him and Eminem, particularly due to their shared white backgrounds and Eminem's troubled past, Wahlberg took a stance against such associations. Wahlberg actively sought to distance himself from Eminem, disliking the notion of being viewed as a performer who relies on shock value.
My favorite song by Eminem is Drug Ballad. He mentioned you in the same back when Mark Wahlberg was Marky Mark.
In contrast, Wahlberg aimed to convey meaningful messages through his work in the entertainment industry. Rather than seeking controversy, he wanted his contributions to resonate with both critics and fans, emphasizing substance and a positive impact in his artistic endeavors. Eminem is known for his unfiltered and confrontational approach in his rap lyrics. While he maintains a structured and meticulous process in the studio, he doesn't shy away from addressing personal conflicts, including issues with his mother, the mother of his child, or industry rivals. This bold and controversial style has proven to be a successful formula for Eminem, contributing to his career longevity and strong album sales, even without the typical practice of teasing albums before their release.
I hadn't met Eminem before he made that song, and then I met him at an MTV event. We hung out.
Eminem, Mark. How you doing? All right. What's up, man? We'll just all stand together like a happy, fun bunch.
Despite the potential wealth and fame that a similar path might have brought, Mark Wahlberg chose a different career trajectory. Uninterested in taking a route that involves public confrontations and controversies, he shifted his focus to acting instead. Wahlberg sought success in an industry that allowed him to express himself differently, aligning more with his preferences and values.
With white kids from the neighborhood, and I was like, I can't sing, and B, I didn't want to do that. That wasn't my vibe.
Mark Wahlberg made a decisive move away from the music industry before his career had the chance to fully take off, ultimately proving to be a successful decision in the long run. Wahlberg, now recognized as one of the highest paid actors of his generation, left behind a multi-year contract with his record company, rendering him unable to secure representation with another label until that contractual commitment concluded. This contractual constraint became the catalyst for change in Wahlberg's career, leading to his departure from the music industry. Reflecting on his decision, Wahlberg cited the challenges he faced in the music world due to his association with his brother's group and his troubled past. In an interview with IGN, he explained his reluctance to follow the common practice among rappers of openly discussing their troubled backgrounds to boost their careers. Wahlberg chose not to promote his troubled past, emphasizing a different approach to his public image and creative expression. Wahlberg went on saying, "Then when it came out, it was like, oh, this kid is a monster. So acting was the last thing I wanted to do. I was put in a position by my record company and kind of pushed in a direction that I didn't want to go, obviously for their financial benefit. So I said I was going to wait out my contract, which would have taken 6 years. Rather than waiting out a multi-year contract or producing albums that didn't align with his artistic vision, Mark Wahlberg made a career pivot to become an actor. However, this doesn't entirely rule out the possibility of Wahlberg making a return to the hip-hop scene. He has acknowledged that, under the right circumstances, he might be open to rapping again. "Give me 2 days to rehearse," Wahlberg stated. "I can just get back into the swing of things. I need to just hear it and feel it." Now, after leaving the rapping, he got into acting and business. And when we talk about business in the industry, the first name our mind catches is Diddy's. Yes, he joined hands with Diddy, and his fans believe that's when everything got messed up.
Partners with Diddy. Have you spoken to him since the incident went down?
I have not. I just know what a devout Christian and father he is, and obviously if he would do anything to protect his children.
Mark Wahlberg and Sean Combs embarked on a unique business venture by investing in Aquahydrate, a high-performance alkaline water brand. This collaboration, popular in the United States, aimed to launch in the UK by the end of February 2018. Wahlberg played a significant role in bringing the product to the UK market and actively promoted it on social media.
What's the symbol for water?
Albuquerque. H2O. H2O.
I was late on the
It
buzzer.
was late on he came after the buzzer. So
Okay, so I pick one.
Wahlberg has diversified his investments, including a health and supplements company called Performance Inspired Nutrition. Additionally, he co-owns his family's burger chain, Wahlburgers. With a robust portfolio of business ventures, Wahlberg earned the title of Hollywood's highest-paid actor in August 2017, having amassed an impressive $66 million in earnings over the previous 12 months. Given both the artist's history, it is natural for them to work together on business as well as music. However, now Mark thinks that it was his biggest mistake to work with Diddy. The rapper-turned-actor feels that the interference of the studio played a big part in pushing him toward the film industry. He wanted a different kind of music, but he was asked to do something that didn't excite him. He also claimed that his brother making millions of dollars while he was struggling left him with no choice.
All these industry people know that Diddy been acting like this and doing this and try to engage other men into acts with him.
According to The Ellen Show, he said, "They wanted me to be a little more commercial, take my pants off more, do a duet with a girl singer. They didn't want me to do what I wanted to do and to be who I am, so I just got a little frustrated by that." And he further added, "I think I could have been a lot more successful. Had I been allowed to do what I wanted to do, I think the record company had one specific idea and they wanted to go for that," he said. "I had just gotten out of jail and I wanted to make a record. I saw my brother making millions of dollars and I'm still struggling, so I kind of compromised a little bit. But when they continued to push me further in the opposite direction, that's when I decided not to make another record and to wait out my contract." The actor has been profoundly affected by recent events, leading him to disclose that he rarely indulges in rap music these days. Although there's a possibility of a comeback, it won't align with the established image. Moreover, in his earlier years, the two-time national award-winning actor was involved in a series of offenses. He was once part of a rough-and-tumble group with a notably prejudiced mindset. During a confrontation, he engaged in a physical altercation, causing Johnny Trin, the victim, to sustain a left eye injury and endure racial slurs from the actor, who was a teenager at the time.
1988, Mark was arrested for the unprovoked racist attack on 2 Vietnamese Americans, leaving one of the victims blind.
Owing to his age during the incident, served just 45 days of a 2-year sentence for attempted. In a later development, Hollywood star Mark Wahlberg took the opportunity to reconcile with the victim and address their past conflicts. After more than 2 decades of silence, Johnny Trin disclosed that the actor hadn't caused him serious harm. Talking to Daily Mail, the victim said he was already blind in one eye after being injured while fighting the communists in the Vietnam War. "I was not blinded by Mark Wahlberg. He did hurt me, but my left eye was already gone. He was not responsible for that. He was young and reckless, but I forgive him now. Everyone deserves another chance. I would like to see him get a pardon. He should not have the crime hanging over him any longer. He paid for his crime when he went to prison," he said. Wahlberg also recollected the incident from his adolescence during a conversation with The Wrap. The star said, "I didn't need that. I spent 28 years righting the wrong. I was relieved to find out that the injuries to his eye had occurred in the early 70s and not from the incident that happened that night. But I was able to meet with him and his wife and his daughter and apologize for those horrific acts. Some good did come out of it, if not for the internet. One might assume that Mark Wahlberg's biggest misstep was starring in Daddy's Home 2. However, in 1986, when he was just 15, Wahlberg and 2 friends engaged in troubling behavior by repeatedly harassing and physically attacking young black school children in Boston. As per the Massachusetts Attorney General's account, Wahlberg and his companions pursued a group of children on mopeds, shouting racial slurs and throwing rocks, with an alarming incident continuing the next day during a beach field trip. During this encounter, they again hurled racial slurs and rocks, resulting in injuries to a black student and a white student, prompting their teacher to call for an ambulance. The ambulance driver intervened, chasing away the teens responsible for the A.
You mentioned the original was 1974.
Yep.
James Caan was the star of that. Any trepidation at all about stepping into a role that someone else has done so successfully?
No.
But people were immediately skeptical of Wahlberg's motivations for seeking a pardon. The Hollywood Reporter noted at the time that it likely had less to do with moral absolution and more to do with the building of his crappy burger joint chain. Wahlberg literally wrote on his application for the pardon that he was concerned that he might be denied a concessionaire's license on the basis of my prior record, an apparent reference to a planned expansion of his Wahlburgers franchise. As of 2006, he hadn't even apologized to his victims, seemingly underscoring that this wasn't about making things right so much as it was about hawking greasy slabs of beef. And Wahlberg's behavior following these incidents seems to indicate that he hadn't committed to turning his his life around, yeah, he kept a people as an adult.
Actor Mark Wahlberg wants to be officially cleared of a 1988 incident in which he hit a Vietnamese man in the head with a wooden stick and punched a second Vietnamese man in the face,
while Wahlberg eventually apologized to Tron, who graciously acknowledged that he deserved a second chance. However, other past victims were less forgiving, expressing skepticism about the possibility of genuine change and stating, "If you're a racist, you're always going to be a racist." Although Wahlberg later dropped his pardon request, he asserted that it wasn't necessary, emphasizing that he had spent 28 years righting the wrong. However, questions remain about the sincerity of this assertion.
And the pain that I had caused people, I committed to turning my life around, which was not an easy thing to do because A, I still had to go to prison, so not being in the gang anymore left me alone.
In the early 90s, amid his celebrity status, Wahlberg faced another troubling incident. In 1992, he his 20-year-old neighbor, a security guard, with his bodyguard holding the victim down. The aftermath left the victim with a wired-shut jaw. Wahlberg claimed to be responding to a racial slur directed at his black bodyguard. Ultimately, he settled the case just days before a criminal trial was scheduled to begin.
A 15-year-old Wahlberg and 3 friends chased after 3 black kids while yelling the N-word, and throwing rocks at them.
Marky Mark achieved ubiquitous visibility, propelled in part by a series of Calvin Klein commercials featuring a shirtless Wahlberg grabbing his crotch, engaging in playful interactions with a topless Kate Moss, who later claimed body shaming during the shoot, and advocating that the best protection against AIDS is to keep your Calvins on. It's indeed a remarkable slogan. The unconventional approach raises eyebrows, prompting reflections on why other major brands like Nike or Burger King didn't similarly incorporate references to significant health crises in their commercials. Around this time, CAAAV, the Committee Against Anti-Asian Violence, launched a campaign demanding that Calvin Klein remove Mark Wahlberg as their spokesperson for what should be obvious reasons. They even reportedly held a press conference in Times Square with a cardboard cut of Wahlberg next to replica tombstones bearing the names of the victims of anti-Asian hate crimes. As a result, Wahlberg's publicist agreed to have the star appear in an anti-racism PSA for television. We'd link to the YouTube video of said PSA, but we can't because it never actually happened. Why? Well, apparently Wahlberg was too busy dealing with allegations of yet another A, this time involving Madonna's entourage, and a fight that started after Wahlberg, according to a police report, started making disparaging remarks about HS, at which point he allegedly pushed nightclub owner John Enos and punched Maverick Productions bigwig Guy Ossery in the nose. Which, to be honest, partly explains why Wahlberg turned down Brokeback Mountain, stating that he was creeped out by the gay love story. And it also explains why some people were extremely upset that he was cast in 2020's Joe Bell, a movie about a father crusading against homophobic bullying.
And it was not just that he had violated it, but the second time was more violent and was towards a different class of individuals, Vietnamese individuals.
Well, the question that arises is that was he like this from the very beginning, or he also was controlled by the elites of the industry like Diddy? Mogul Kanye West has recently made waves by delving into the peculiar realm of online conspiracy theories surrounding Hollywood controlling. In a bizarre clip that has garnered widespread attention, West openly discusses these beliefs, taking the conversation to another level. Astonishingly, he goes as far as mentioning many names while emphasizing his strong belief in the existence of such occurrences.
My mama was sacrificed.
Me too.
You understand?
Yeah, I'm appreciate
Michael Jordan, what about him? His daddy, right?
For decades, Mark Wahlberg was the Hollywood success story everyone admired. The bad boy turned devout Catholic, the former rapper turned Oscar-nominated actor, the man who seemingly left his dark past behind. But now, that clean-cut image is under fire once again. From resurfaced hate crime allegations to drunken talk show chaos, Wahlberg's legacy is unraveling faster than anyone expected. Before he became the Hollywood icon, the millionaire businessman, and the poster boy for faith and family, Mark Wahlberg's life was anything but clean. Behind that polished image lies a history so dark that it almost derailed his career before it began. Long before the fame, Wahlberg wasn't the charming Boston tough guy we see today. He was Boston's menace. In the rough streets of Dorchester, a teenage Wahlberg wasn't just another kid getting into fights. He was part of a violent, racially charged wave of hate, and the stories from that era are downright disturbing.
It occurred 2 years after she secured a civil injunction against Wahlberg after he hurled rocks and racial slurs at black schoolchildren. the injunction essentially warning Wahlberg that he would go to jail if he committed another hate crime.
In 1986, at just 15 years old, Wahlberg and 3 friends chased a group of black schoolchildren down the street, hurling rocks and screaming, "The NES!" Witnesses say it wasn't a moment of teenage stupidity. It was a full-blown hate attack that only stopped when an ambulance driver intervened. But Wahlberg wasn't done. The next day, he returned to the same beach, rallying other white teens to attack another group of mostly black 4th graders. The group hurled rocks, insults, and threats until police arrived. One victim later recalled that the look in Wahlberg's eyes wasn't mischief. It was hate. You'd think that would be the wake-up call. But instead, 2 years later, in 1988, things escalated. This time, his targets were Vietnamese men, Thon Lam and Johnny Trinh. Wahlberg, high on PCP, approached Lam outside a convenience store, called him a Vietnam Phing S, and smashed him in the head with a 5-foot wooden stick, knocking him unconscious. Hours later, he attacked Trinh, punching him in the eye while yelling more racist slurs. Police charged Wahlberg with attempted.
And it was not just that he had violated it, but the second time was more violent and was towards a different class of individuals, Vietnamese individuals.
And here's where it gets worse. This wasn't some isolated incident. Wahlberg already had a civil rights injunction against him, a legal order telling him not to attack or intimidate anyone because of their race or nationality. By law, he was forbidden to repeat that behavior, but he did. That made the 1988 assaults not just violent, but defiant. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and served just 45 days. 45 days for a hate-fueled assault that left one man unconscious and another permanently injured.
Been echoed by Kristen Atwood, who asked that her face not be shown on camera. Atwood says she was 9 years old when Wahlberg and a group of his friends attacked her class during a field trip in what was a very segregated Boston.
Decades later, Wahlberg would try to reframe it all as youthful mistakes, claiming he'd changed, that and bad company had led him astray. But the victims remember differently, and so do the records. To many, the story wasn't about redemption. It was about privilege. A white celebrity who could literally beat people in the street, shout racial slurs, violate a court order, and still go on to become one of Hollywood's highest-paid stars.
It was a hate crime, and that's exactly what should be on his record forever. And for him to want to erase it, I just think is wrong.
Even now, some fans can't help but see the irony. A man who preaches about faith, forgiveness, and second chances, but whose victims never got one. Fast forward to 2020, decades after those violent attacks, and Mark Wahlberg had reinvented himself into the picture of discipline and redemption. A devout Catholic, fitness mogul, and family man. The Hollywood narrative was simple. He changed. But that illusion came crashing down with one Instagram post. In the wake of George Floyd, as the world erupted in grief and protest, Wahlberg joined the flood of celebrities posting black squares and statements of support. He uploaded a solemn picture of George Floyd, writing, "The of George Floyd is heartbreaking. We must all work together to fix this problem. I'm praying for all of us." God bless to the casual fan. It sounded compassionate, but to those who remembered his past, it felt like insult to injury. Within hours, social media turned against him.
Wahlberg tweeted about the death of George Floyd. He said that it was heartbreaking and we must work together to fix the problem, and added the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Some were quick to dig up Wahlberg's past hate crimes when he was a teenager.
Twitter exploded. Instagram comments filled with outrage. "You threw rocks at black kids. Now you're praying for justice?" One user snapped. Another wrote, "You beat a man unconscious while screaming racial slurs. You don't get to post about equality." What was meant to be a gesture of unity instantly became a public relations disaster. Screenshots of his old assault records and mugshots resurfaced everywhere. News outlets dug up decades-old court documents. Influencers and activists called him out by name, branding him a hypocrite hiding behind faith and fame. Even some of his fans couldn't defend him this time. It was a brutal reminder that no matter how many years pass, the internet never forgets.
What happened yesterday concerning Mark Wahlberg, he trended all day yesterday on Twitter, and it wasn't because of a gotcha moment. It wasn't because a watchdog went back into his Twitter past.
And the irony was hard to ignore. A man once charged with hate crimes now preaching racial harmony to millions. The timing couldn't have been worse. Wahlberg stayed silent for days, No apology, no clarification, no acknowledgement, just a digital storm swirling around the man who built a career on redemption and suddenly looked like he hadn't learned anything at all. For Hollywood's self-proclaimed reformed sinner, the backlash wasn't just about a post. It was about credibility. And in 2020, credibility was everything.
These racial incidents, these hate crimes, have been existing on his Wikipedia page, hiding in plain sight since Wikipedia was born.
Because when you spend decades polishing a clean image, it only takes one Instagram post to remind the world who you used to be. For years, Mark Wahlberg has branded himself as Hollywood's ultimate symbol of redemption, a man who traded chaos for control, violence for virtue, and sin for salvation. His life now revolves around early morning workouts, prayer, and family-first interviews. But one humiliating night on The Graham Norton Show shattered that perfect image and showed fans a glimpse of the man he's still fighting to hide. It all started back in 2013 when Wahlberg appeared on the British talk show to promote his film Broken City. At first, everything seemed normal. The classic Wahlberg charm, the confident laugh, the tough guy with a heart persona. But within minutes, something felt off, according to Graham Norton himself, who revisited the moment years later in a 2025 interview. Wahlberg had arrived on set already drunk. He didn't seem drunk at first, Norton recalled, but about 15 minutes in, whatever was in his system really took hold, and it was hell, and he wasn't exaggerating. As the cameras rolled, Wahlberg began interrupting guests Sarah Silverman and Michael Fassbender, slurring over their stories and grabbing the spotlight in a way that made everyone uncomfortable. Then things took a bizarre turn. He sat on Norton's lap, played with his nipples, and rambled incoherently before falling asleep on the couch mid-show. Audiences didn't know whether to laugh or cringe. Social media lit up with clips and comments like, "What's wrong with Mark Wahlberg?" and "So much for clean living." The once respected actor who preached about faith and discipline had just turned one of Britain's biggest talk shows into a drunken circus. When confronted later, Wahlberg tried to laugh it off, claiming it was all a bit gone too far, just harmless fun. But fans weren't buying it. For a man who claims to live by strict routines, early mornings, and religious devotion, this was a raw, embarrassing contradiction. And Graham Norton didn't exactly defend him either. He described the night as hell, confirming that the show never encourages guests to drink, meaning Wahlberg didn't get drunk during the taping. He showed up that way. For someone who built an empire on control and redemption, the whole ordeal felt like deja vu, another moment where his demons slipped through the cracks. It was messy, unpredictable, and deeply human, but it also reminded everyone that beneath the calm, God-fearing surface, Mark Wahlberg's chaos never really went away. So now, at 54, Mark Wahlberg stands at a crossroads, haunted by his own history and caught between the man he was and the image he's fighting to protect. Hollywood loves a comeback story, but this time, fans aren't sure whether to forgive, forget, or finally hold him accountable. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.